Hey, what up ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot right here, hopefully your favorite Helldivers 2 content creator, and what we're going to go through today is the massive patch 1.00.3 for Helldivers 2. If you aren't aware, this is everything that has changed in it, including my thoughts, alright? I'm going to walk you through it. It is a big one. Lots of balancing changes. The whole game is going to feel different right now, so get ready, because it's about to be wild. Let's get some music going on. We need a little bit of this, yeah? Okay, here we go. Let's talk about it. For this patch, they've made improvements and changes to the following areas. Balancing changes to weapons, stratagems, and enemies, and they've made a change to the Spread Democracy mission. Let's go through balancing first. For balancing, there are a few general changes that you guys need to know about. Armors with an armor rating above 100 will now reduce the damage on headshots. You can still wear, like what this is telling me now, I haven't teched it, but you could probably still wear any helmet. We'll test it on stream. Alright, you could probably still wear any helmet, but if you're wearing an armor with an armor rating above 100, the damage on headshots will be reduced, meaning that you can survive it more. This could be very helpful for those of you that like heavy armor. Victory poses will now only play for extracted soldiers, so there'll be no stolen valor allowed. Alright? Now the next thing you have to be aware of is that burning damage has been reduced by 15%, but this appears to be a reduction across the board. That means your stratagems, your weapons deal less burning damage too. Okay? Please be aware of this. This does not indicate that it's only a nerf to the fire tornadoes, it's not only a nerf to the Hulks or whatever. No, burning damage across the board has been reduced. Be aware, this is going to affect those of you that like flamethrowers, okay? Primary, secondary, and support weapons. The crossbow has been changed, alright? The CB9 exploding crossbow now has a slightly smaller explosion, increased stagger, but they've decreased the number of maximum magazines down from 12 to 8, alright? Same number of rounds per mag. They've increased the number of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8. Alright, so you'll get a full resupply anytime you pick one up, but the maximum capacity is just 8, remember that. They've had a slight reduction in ergonomics, meaning that this weapon is going to be harder to handle than it was before. Muzzle velocity has been increased, which means your projectile should fly faster, but I'm not sure if this changes the range on it, because they've given a different description later on for the Plasma Punisher. Alright, we're going to have to think about this one. Testing it was going to be very important. The Quasar cannon has received a major nerf, where the recharge time has been increased by 5 seconds. This is a 50% reduction in its firing power. Why? Previously the recharge was 10 seconds, now it's 15. This is going to be hurtful for Quasar mains, alright? But none of us commandos were Quasar mains anyway. We only use them for the bugs. So bug divers are probably going to have a bit of a harder time now, okay? Which is a good thing. Hopefully they'll come over to the bot side. Now, for the Adjudicator, they have made a change so that full auto is now the default fire mode. They've reduced the recoil on it and increased the maximum number of mags from 6 to 8. They've increased the number of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8, and it's now placed amongst the assault rifles. The Adjudicator bears a second look now, because if auto is the default fire mode, and they put it as more of an assault rifle with reduced recoil from what it had before, it might actually be a fairly accurate weapon. We'll have to see. Okay, the laser cannon, now this one I'm a bit confused about. It's got slightly increased damage, but slightly reduced damage versus large volume bodies. Not sure what counts as a large volume body, but we'll have to actually check it out. The slightly increased damage could help though, so I'm very, very much looking forward to trying out the laser cannon again. The Plasma Punisher. They've decreased the maximum number of magazines from 12 to 8. They've increased the number of magazines received from a resupply from 6 to 8, and they've increased the projectile speed, but it will keep a similar range. So your projectiles should fly out faster, but the range on them will remain the same. They've decreased the damage fall off on the explosion. That is a buff so that the whole AoE is going to take that Plasma Punisher damage. This is going to be pretty good, alright? And it's now placed in the energy weapons category, which should be pretty awesome, alright? Yeah, I'm just kidding. That's not awesome at all. That's literally just a reclassification. But still, correct classifications are important. Yeah? Okay. The Arc 12 Blitzer has received quite a buff. Think about it in terms of percentages. increased shots per minute from 30 to 45 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's going to fire 50% faster than it did before. This bears testing because it now might be a pretty interesting weapon to be using against the Automaton faction. Against the Terminid faction. Automaton's probably not, because its maximum range being 25 meters kind of still hurts it a lot, but it is worth taking a second look. Alright, so Blitzer fans are going to be pretty happy with this. 50% increased fire rate is nothing to sneeze at. The Eruptor. They've decreased the maximum number of magazines from 12 to 6. Explosion damage drops off slightly faster. This means that the explosive radius of the Eruptor, still the same as before, but it's going to have a lot more fall off at the edges. Alright? So the Eruptor may not do as much AoE as it did before, and certainly not as consistently as before, but it's still a big explosive gun. That being said, the magazines have now dropped down to 6. I barely even used that many, but fine. Fair enough. 12 was truly too much. Okay. For the Sickle, they've decreased the maximum number of magazines from 6 down to 3. Alright, so you cannot spam it as much, but they haven't touched anything else, so Sickle should be fine. The last 5 side has received a 20% increase in damage, going from 300 to 350. They've decreased the number of maximum mags from 6 down to 4, but this weapon is going to be, again, a very interesting test because it could be competitive at higher level play now that it's got 20% better damage. I'm willing to try this out because the range on it is pretty fantastic. All it needed was a bit of a bump up in damage. This might be just the thing we need. I'm going to test it out for sure. Railgun users rejoice. Armor penetration has been increased in both safe and unsafe mode. Alright, so you guys should have the armor penetration you used to have before. But we'll have to test it again. Stagger force has been slightly reduced, so this thing is not really going to stagger things anymore, but it should be used as intended. Aim at the target, kill, 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 kill. That, I think, would be the intention behind it, but again, we're going to have to see, we're going to have to test, we're going to have to get familiar with it. This could put the railgun back in that insane category once again. I'm always willing to check things out, and if this can give me what I need, I'm willing to take that chance. Okay. For the heavy machine gun, a third-person crosshair has been enabled, which will bring it back into popularity because aiming at first person is quite hard with the recoil. Third person might be a lot better. Those of you who want to spec into the heavy machine gun, please do give this a go, because I'm going to tell you this is going to be a very interesting weapon to have. And remember, you can shoot out Hulk's legs. Think. Alright? Now, the Diligence Counter Sniper has had its damage buffed again, and the ergonomics improved. The Diligence Counter Sniper should now be slightly easier to aim. Once again, we will give this a try, because I've always liked the Diligence Counter Sniper. I feel that it has some viability, but we're going to have to see how viable that viability is. So with improved ergonomics, maybe it can do more. We'll give it a go. Alright? The Diligence, base Diligence, also had its damage increased from 112 to 125. Worth a second look. Alright? A lot of people still prefer this against the automatons in low-level play, and low-level play meaning from difficulties 1 to about 5. It could come back again. The Punisher is very good for its stagger, but hey, if you prefer accurate shots, this might be what you need. The Redeemer now has a slight increase in recoil, making it a bit tougher to control, and the Peacemaker has its damage increased by about 25%. So now the Peacemaker is its own weapon with slightly higher damage. It's no longer just a weaker version of the Redeemer. So do consider it if you might be thinking about, if you're a fan of the Glock style play. The Senator, they've received a increase in damage. The overall increase in damage is roughly, okay, 1/6. I can't remember the percentage for 1/6. It's, the percentage of 1/6 is, I literally cannot remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that. It's like 18 point something percent. Anyway, 1/6 of a damage increase, which is nice, and there is a speed loader added for when you fully empty it. So if you're fully out of ammo on the Senator, they've got a speed loader. I really want to test this out because I'm super excited to have that. That's really cool. All right, I dig it. I dig it. You know, we got to test all this later tonight. The last 7 dagger. Okay, this one also bears mentioning because they've increased the dagger damage from 150 to 200. That is a 33.333333% increase, a 1/3 damage increase. That's massive. This weapon used to overheat so quickly and do barely anything. Now it might actually have a place in our loadouts. It still remains to be seen whether or not that's the case, but I might bring it along to pair with the sickle, with the scythe to get a kind of like a full laser loadout going. It might work. It might work. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But this is a strong maybe right now. All right. Now, the Liberator has its damage slightly increased by 5. Liberated Concussive has its damage increased from 55 to 65. It might be an interesting weapon to use. The Jar 5 Dominator received a slight minor nerf, going from 300 damage down to 275, making it more of a side grade to the Slugger. It has got much more stagger force, though. The Slugger still, as far as I know, has not received a buff yet. Maybe further down the line. Oh no, it's Stratagem's next, so no. It's more of a side grade now to the Slugger, but I would still prefer the Jar because of the sheer stagger on the Jar. All right. The base guard dog, AXAR23, decreased damage by 30%. I wonder if this affects the Rover as well. I will check and let you know on stream, because I'm pretty sure the AR designation is the Rover. I could be wrong. I will check on stream and give you an answer later, okay? The Airburst rocket launcher, it will no longer detonate when shot near stratagems, so HMG turrets, sentries, resupplies, and other Helldivers. They've also reduced the proximity radius, making it not detonate so early, so it should be a lot easier to target. This, again, bears testing. We are going to test, we're going to find out, we're going to get it right, okay? So don't give up on the Airburst rocket launcher, because either way, it's all we got right now. All right. In terms of stratagems, all right, here's what we got. The MG43 machine gun sentry has increased health to match other sentries, and the Tesla tower also has an increased health of 33%, so it should last longer. As for the spear, what they've done is they've added a reload stage reload after the spent missile has been discarded. Okay, but nothing on the targeting yet, so I'm not so sure on that. We'll see later on. RL-77 Airburst rocket. It just says list, so I'm not sure. This looks like an error. Maybe it's an error in the early version of the patch notes, because I'm reading this as soon as I got it on Steam. Okay, in terms of enemies, the Bow Spewer and Nursing Spewers have their movement slightly reduced. Okay. Alright, that's pretty interesting. Give me a moment, because we are also going to... I'm just going to change the music for this. Enemies. Bow Spewer and Nursing Spewer movement speed slightly reduced. Okay, hopefully less ninjas are going to come up to you and kill you. Hulks. The force required to stagger them is slightly increased, so we'll have to test whether the Arc Thrower can still stagger lock them. Maybe not. The Hulk Scorcher's direct flamethrower damage has been reduced by 20%. So this one is a direct nerf to the Hulk Scorcher's flamethrower. So hopefully they will flame you to death a lot less. Devastator fire rate is slightly increased, but only for the standard Devastator, not for the other Devastators. Rocket Devastators will fire as they did before. Same with the Heavy Devastators, but thank God, because if they were firing more rockets at me, I'd be pissed. Gunship's sideways movement slightly increased. They're going to be harder to take on, so take note of that. Scout Strider Riders are now less vulnerable to explosions. Okay? This could mean that certain things like the autocannon, which do not completely destroy the front plate, might take longer to kill Scout Striders. They may also be less vulnerable to the explosion damage from the Scorcher, so be aware of this. Fog Generator's health and armor is increased, so the Spore Spewer should probably last longer. Gunship spawners now have a much lower cap on how many gunships they can have active at the same time, which is good, but really having more than 2 on the field anyway is a death sentence, so we kill them quickly. Alright? Enemy patrols. Patrol spawning has been increased when there are fewer than 4 players. The fewer the players, the bigger the change. So, guys, I've been saying this all along. Solo play is not harder than team play. Team play is a lot harder because more enemies spawn. All right, so now solo players will, at higher difficulties, will probably see a big change. All right. For 4-player missions, there'll be no change compared to before. So our missions will be the same standard. Unless they screwed it up, and if they screwed it up, then GG. Okay, now, gameplay changes. They've made minor level generation improvements to how they distribute locations throughout the mission map. This should improve variation and distance between objectives, and objectives will likely not spawn as far away from each other as before, which is good. They've added a setting in the options menu gameplay section to disable automatic climbing and vaulting while sprinting. So you can disable that if you so choose. It's up to you. I probably am not going to disable that, but we'll see. The Spread Democracy mission, otherwise known as Raise the Flag, can now be enjoyed on higher difficulties for maximum freedom spreading. Wow, okay, that's nice. When readying up, Helldivers will now salute to ensure maximum democratic readiness. I like that. They've added ambiance to the tremor planetary hazard to underline the severity so Helldivers can react accordingly. Shots that ricochet from heavy armored enemies will now properly hit the Helldiver who fired them. What? Okay, that is a really negative change, because if it's working the way that I'm thinking in my brain, then doesn't that mean that when we shoot the Hulk and it bounces off, like let's say I miss, right? It bounces off and it kills me. What distance does this work at? We'll have to test. But this is a very worrying change that I'm not too happy about. No. What? These are just random enemies with armor. Sure, the shot should bounce, but it should not just kill us. I mean, the hell is this? You know? Even real life ricochet doesn't follow that pattern. If it bounces off the surface, it should follow physics. So I hope it still follows physics. I'm gonna be very upset if all of these automatons are gonna act like Genji. Then everyone's gonna be upset because we're just gonna shoot ourselves to death. Oh, sad. Okay, now here are the crash fixes that they've done. They fixed the crash that could occur when the host abandoned the mission with the squad. They fixed a crash that could occur if a player tried to enter an occupied Patriot suit. They fixed a crash that could occur for all players after or during the mission results screen. They fixed a crash that could occur after shooting from the Patriot suit's rocket launcher. They fixed a crash that could occur for all players apart from the one that rejoined the ongoing mission with different armor and got reinforced. Okay. They fixed the superior packing methodology. It now works fine. They fixed the blast absorption ship module so it correctly increases the sentry's resistance to explosions. They fixed an issue where players could not navigate to search results in the social menu. They fixed some issues where items equipped in a warbond were not actually equipped. They fixed an exploit that allowed overly eager Helldivers to use grenades excessively. No more exploit for you guys. Fixed issue where kills from orbital barrage did not progress in direct fire exercise order. They fixed an issue that allowed traders to try and sabotage the extraction shuttle by deploying sentry stratagems below it. They fixed an issue where ion storms incorrectly prevented extraction beacon from deploying. We've encountered this before, so thank God for fixing that. Fixed some stratagem beams using incorrect color coding. They fixed an issue where the left stick on a controller could not be used to navigate the social menu. They fixed some issues where various UI elements were cut off, off-centered, or too close to the edge of the screen. They fixed the anti-material rifle facing away from the Helldiver after deploying it. They fixed a bug where a player could duplicate rounds by canceling the reload of the anti-material rifle at a specific time. Okay. They fixed a bug where anti-material rifles would consume an extra magazine after a canceled reload. Fixed a bug where recoilless rifle would consume an extra shell from the backpack if reload was canceled just after a shell was inserted. Yuri will be happy with this. Fixed an issue where the sickle and quasar cannon could not shoot through foliage. This is helpful. Fixed several issues where weapon thumbnails would disappear when scrolling through the armory. Okay. They fixed issues where automaton gunships could not see the player. Okay. They fixed incorrect collision being left over after destroying automaton bunkers or detector towers with hell bombs. Okay. They fixed an issue where hell bombs would not deploy on certain missions. They fixed certain issues that resulted in Helldivers drowning in deep water upon landing. They fixed an issue where Hellpod space optimization made ammo go above capacity. What? They fixed an issue where stalkers became very visible in fog. Oh, come on. Are you for real? Then we can't even see the stalkers again? Mines are now pingable for better coordination with your team. Oh, thank God. Receiving friend requests now always gives the player a pop-up. They've improved the readability of prompts. Total experience is now visible in the career tab. Added better support for ultra-wide monitors. Nice. Keybinds bound to numpad will no longer reset upon restart. Fixed inconsistent audio when headphones are plugged into the DualSense controller while playing on PC. Playing rock, paper, scissors in front of the ship no longer causes the player to fall out into space. The anti-material rifle and heavy machine gun now trigger hit markers while scoped in. The secondary weapon no longer remains in ballistic shield ADS position after using a stim with the ballistic shield backpack equipped. Open text chat is now rebindable. Explosive weapons no longer pull players inward from the blast. No more implosions, fellas, so we're good. Disabled squad invites during the tutorial. Fixed primary and secondary weapons overlapping on the character model in the armory. Fixed UI elements during first boot. Okay, which are cut off on a 21:9 aspect ratio monitor. Report and block player is now visible in the squad menu. Dead scavengers now stop screaming for help if killed while calling in reinforcements. Fixed anti-air cannons showing up as stratagem scramblers in danger warnings. Ah, okay, good. Great. There are still various issues. And for those that want to know the known issues, here we are. I'm going to pause the music for this one just so we can read through this. As for the known issues which are not resolved yet, please take note. Friend requests cannot be accepted when requesting player changes their username before the request is accepted. Cross-platform friend invites might not show up in the friend request tab. Players cannot unfriend players befriended via friend code. And players cannot unblock players that were not in their friends list beforehand. Okay, so that's wild. Damage over time is still bugged, but they're expecting to fix this next patch. Reinforcements may not be available for some players who join a game in progress. Helldiver may be unable to stand up from crouching when surrounded by enemies. Game may crash if the host leaves while dead and rejoins the same play session. Game may still crash if the player changes the text language while on a mission. Players may experience delays in medals and super credits payout. Enemies that bleed out do not progress personal orders and eradicate missions. Scopes on some weapons are slightly misaligned, still hasn't been fixed yet. Arc weapons still misfire and behave inconsistently. Spears targeting is still inconsistent. Stratagem might attach itself to an enemy but deploy in its original location. Take note, the blue stratagems always deploy wherever the final location is. The red stratagems deploy at the initial location where it lands. Explosions do not break your limbs. Area around Automaton Detector Tower makes blue stratagems such as hell bombs bounce and be repelled. They still haven't fixed that. Planet liberation reaches 100% at the end of every defense mission. They haven't fixed that yet, but the rest is fine. So, lots of nerfs and buffs in this entire patch. It's a real mixed bag. We're going to check it all out, but for now, this is all the information you need. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys will enjoy the content, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good one now, okay? Catch you on stream where we'll be testing all this live. See you later.